This programme is the Petro-Canada Lubricants Porsche Club Championship with Pirelli. Welcome along to the Petro-Canada Lubricants Porsche Club Championship with Pirelli finale for 2021 here at a rather damp Snetterton circuit. The cars are being prepped in the paddock, and before we go racing today, it's as well to acclimatise ourselves with championship standings as we arrive here. Class 1 and the outright championship led by Simon Clark. Mark McAleer is next up. Peter Morris is in third from Jake McAleer in fourth position. Class 2, Matt Kyle Henney is the class leader. Paul Simpson is in second. Angus Archer, who had a great meeting last time out, is third, and Carl Hazleton fourth. The Classic Boxsters, headed by Richard Forber from Will Heslop, and then Alistair Nelson in third.
Pole position, race 1. Tell us about it.
Oh, struggling yesterday on the pace. I mean, I was like five seconds off the pace yesterday, even chasing down GT4s and getting a toe off them, and I was quite disappointed. So we were debating whether to buy £1,400 worth of tyres just to qualify. So I'm good for third in the championship, and I doubt very much I can get first. So I've got to be wide to block the Caymans for the whole 25 minutes, but I did it last time, so I can do it again. They have got a faster race pace, so I'll be blocking them today. But it looks like we're going to get rain, so that will just throw a spanner in the works.
Ollie, it's always a great thing to see new faces on the grid there, and final round of the season. So what brings you to this championship?
Well, we bought the car about 6 months ago, and we've done a few track days and been getting the car prepared. I thought we'd take the opportunity to jump on the last round of the season to give the car a good test and see how we get on.
And you haven't held back either, because qualifying went really well, I thought.
Yeah, pretty pleased actually. Pleased how we went so far. Pretty good pace. The car feels good. Just a little bit daunted about the changing conditions.
Now there's racing in the blood. I was chatting to your dad earlier, and 1964 he was racing around this circuit as well.
Correct. He'd done his first race here in 1964, and Dad's passion for motorsport has clearly worn off onto me.
So he'll be watching. Does that put pressure on you, or does that help?
It's good to have him here. Really good to have my dad here.
Qualifying went really well for you, but a little birdie tells me that your engine in previous rounds wasn't quite performing 100%.
Yeah, so we found out just before qualifying, because of yesterday's testing, that the throttle wasn't fully going in.
Wow.
So we put that properly in, so we're getting full throttle on the straights. That's helped improve times quite a lot.
It's moved you up about 4 or 5 places.
I would say that, as well as just kind of getting used to the track a bit more. And it's our first ever racing was here, and I was about 15 seconds off pace of everyone.
Wow.
So being in the mix, fourth in qualifying is quite a big achievement.
Simon, final round of the season. Now, a good lead at the moment, but it's not done and dusted. There's a lot of difference with bonus points, and you have to be here to start the races and so forth, so you've got to make sure consistency still kicks in.
Yeah, absolutely. I think potentially I need 2 podium finishes. It's kind of, we haven't done the mathematical equation just yet, but we certainly will be after race 1.
Chatting to Pete earlier, he says that the Caymans have sort of come into their own this year, and it's all about keeping the Caymans behind him, really. So I think it's going to give you a run for your money.
Yeah, it's a quick lap time, really quick, and Pete's notoriously quick off the line. So we'll see. I mean, we could end up with a wet race, and that obviously changes everything. I think at the moment we're just wondering, contemplating what to do tyres-wise.
And overall season, I mean, like most drivers, you had ups and downs, but you've hit all those targets so far.
Yeah, so I've had the consistency, which has been key this year. There's been a lot of people going out either with damage or reliability issues, so that's definitely helped me. Started off the season getting poles in pretty much every round, and that sort of benefit of having those small amount of points each race has sort of built up. So yeah, I think trying to keep it on the road today. No heroics at all. Don't need to win the race to win the championship, just have to start the second race. So my mind is very much in championship mode, and I'm going to be taking it reasonably easy, I think.
Pete Morris on pole position. Simon Clark alongside then James Cayley and Mark McAleer of row 2. Chris Dyer on row 3 with Jake McAleer completing the top 6. Class 2 pole goes to Toby Barlow from Paul Simpson. Matt Kyle Henny third, then Bill Cayley, Angus Archer and Andy Muggeridge completing the top 6 in Class 2. The Boxsters, classic Boxsters headed by Richard Forver from Alistair Nelson, Mike Thompson and Sarah Thompson, as you heard in her conversation with Barry. Lights on, ready for the start, and away we go. Chris Dyer makes a very quick start. Right ahead of us you can see the front row, and it's Pete Morris that gets away. Mark McAleer from the outside of row 2 in the black and blue 14 car is challenging Simon Clark for second place, but it's Clark second, McAleer third. Ahead of them, Peter Morris as they go through Riches for the first time. Toby Barlow ahead of Paul Simpson in Class 2, Richard Former leading Class 3, and in car with Bill Cayley. Jake McAleer in that mix as well, by the look of things. Jake in the blue Hartec Cayman, Richard Baston behind him. Paul Simpson, I think, class leader in Class 2, maybe got ahead of Toby Barlow. In car with Bill Cayley challenging for a stronger podium position in Class 2. Big sort out on lap number 1. And contact at Agostini. Simon Clark into the side. A glance on Pete Morris's car. Has that damaged either of the cars? But I was about to say Simon Clark in the lead. He's off on the grass. That's dishevelled that car. And he's down to 5th place at the moment. So it's Pete Morris that leads. Mark McAleer second. James Cayley is now third. It's all happening on the first lap of this one. Pete Morris's PMC car. PMC very kindly sponsoring the trophies at this round as well. Pete puts a lot back into the racing through his company, which is absolutely superb as we watch Kevin Molyneux chasing Jake McAleer. Richard Baston is in pursuit as well. This is the second meeting in Class 1 for Kevin Molyneux. Battle on for the lead as they come down the straight, and Mark McAleer gets the lead now. So McAleer leads, Pete Morris in second. These two long-serving great rivals. It's one of the great rivalries that we've had in British club racing between those two. James Cayley looking for second place at the moment. Rest of the field working their way through. Very, very strong is Class 2. Matt Kyle Henny, I think, back in 5th place at the moment. In car with Bill Cayley, looking at Angus Archer, who I think is third, coming into Coram for the first time. Simon Clark's car still looking very spirited. It looks as though that tap has upset the car big time. Does not look confident at all. Is he going to go into the pits at the end of this lap as Matt Carhenny challenges? Yes, Simon Clark goes into the pit lane. Matt Carhenny past Bill Cayley. Well, Matt said he was going to take it easy, but still going for those overtakes, and it's very easy for a driver to say that. Andy Muggeridge in the mirror having a look at Bill Cayley as well. Meanwhile, Carl Hazelton getting stuck in that number 24 car. So Jake McAleer from Kevin Molyneux. Jake qualified a couple of places ahead. Richard Ellis separating the pair on the qualifying sheets this morning. And it's Mark McAleer, the race leader then, from Pete Morris. Chris Dyer now up into third. So Strasser 2-3. James Cayley, then Jake McAleer in the 44. Jake fourth in the championship for Class 1. The overall championship between Simon Clark, and as I say Simon Clark, there are ramifications with his pit visit and dropping back as we watch Kevin Ludford up ahead of Julian Morris, then Mike Thompson. This is for podium position, second position in the classic Boxsters. Kevin Molyneux still getting to grips with Class 1, of course. This second meeting made his debut in the Strasser Class 1 996 on the Indy circuit at Brands Hatch last time out. And it's still Mark McAleer from Pete Morris. There goes Chris Dyer out of shot now. James Cayley is fourth from Jake McAleer, who's closing in. So Cayman closing in on the 997 of James Cayley. Both the Cayleys running well. James and Bill, father and son, having good races in Class 1 and 2 respectively. We ride in car with James. comes around Coram. He's a little bit of pressure from behind with Jake McAleer and then Kevin Molyneux. So these three fighting it out at the moment for and Mark McAleer, I was about to say fourth position, but Mark McAleer is stranded there, and that is another shock. How many shocks are we going to have in this racing? Mark McAleer, that'll mean that Pete Morris is back in the lead, the man who started on pole position. So we're watching now Paul Simpson, who goes out of shot. Bill Cayley trying to get the position back from Matt Kyle Henny. Andy Muggeridge is there as well. Side by side, are they going to have three abreast here as they go along the straight? Matt Kyle Henny with his nose in front, but Bill Cayley is going to have the inside line down into Riches, and under braking goes through. Matt Kyle Henny, I think, came out of that, wants to finish the race. I don't know if he knows what's happened to the outright championship leader, Simon Clark, who qualified second. Now, if I get a chance, I'll tell you about championship positions, because we need to look at the overall points between the Class 1 leader, the Class 2 leader coming here. 420 points Simon Clark had coming here without drop scores to complicate things. And Matt Carhenny had 400. So there are an extra 20 points available for this race. Bonus 20 for practicing and starting. But significantly, with Simon Clark having problems, this could be one of his drop scores. And you don't really want to drop a score when you could be getting a bonus 20 points, if that makes sense. We've got the oil flag out, or the limited adhesion slippery surface flag, call it what you will, warning drivers that conditions are not perfect, and that catches out Pete Morris, who gets a tank slapper on, collects it up magnificently, but loses the place to Chris Dyer, who goes through. Chris Dyer is the new race leader here, still a Strasser 1-2 at the moment, with Jake McAleer now in third position. The conditions catching people out, and let's see whether Pete Morris has got anything. He's recovered superbly. So he had a tap on the side on the first corner, and now goes off on the oil here at Snetterton. Kevin Ludford running 7th in Class 2, under pressure from the man in second position in the Classic Boxsters, that is Alistair Nelson. Meanwhile, the race leaders go through, 3rd and 4th on screen at the moment. Jake McAleer 3rd, ahead of him Pete Morris in 2nd, in the number 2 car James Cayley 4th, and chasing hard along centre straight once again. Pete Morris winding it up after that moment. Of course, being race leader, you're generally first to hit anything in terms of a slippery surface, and the others could then see that is happening. But Pete's fought back from that. He's been in the wars in this race, Pete Morris, because he had that tap at Agostini on lap 1. Morris getting closer to Chris Dyer at the moment in 2nd. The two Strasser teammates, another Strasser car in 5th, just out of shot is Kevin Molyneux. Jake McAleer completing the podium at the moment from James Cayley as Chris Dyer. And there's Pete Morris. Morris goes through and grabs the race lead, exiting the hairpin and coming out of Palmer. The left-hander, Pete Morris, re-leads again. It's the 4th time we've seen Pete Morris in the lead. So Morris Agostini, the race leader, Chris Dyer 2nd, Jake McAleer is 3rd from James Cayley. And Pete Morris must feel that he's done enough to win this race now. Remember, he was on pole. On paper, if he wins this, it will look like Pete Morris taking the win from pole, and everyone will say, oh, Porsche race, nobody overtaking, but that is so far from the truth, as we know from closely watching these races season by season. Morris the leader. Remember, it was Simon Clark had the lead, then Mark McAleer had the lead. Pete Morris got it back. Then Chris Dyer got the lead after Pete having that sideways moment, and now Pete's got it back again. Absolutely incredible racing at the front of the field. Podium battles very keen in Class 2 as well. Andy Muggeridge nipping through there. The race leaders starting to catch up some of the Class 2 and 3 runners as well over this very nearly 3-mile lap. And Morris makes a move. Here in the number 30 car, Trevor Lewis. Very welcome return to the championship for Trevor Lewis, and significantly behind him Richard Forber in the 78 car first year driver on his way to the Classic Boxster crown. Remember last year's Classic Boxster champion, Paul Simpson, actually leading class here, and there he is up ahead of Bill Cayley, who is all over the back of him. He's not over the back of him, he's actually pulled out to the outside line at Coreham, and significantly Simpson hugging the curbs there, and Bill Cayley is going for it and giving each other room. What a move by Bill Cayley to take the class lead on the outside at Coreham. Super stuff, great racing from the pair of them. Andy Muggeridge is getting in the mix as well. Potentially it could be 3 wide. No, it's two by side by side. Now it's 3 wide, and back into the lead goes Paul Simpson. Andy Muggeridge second, but not for long, because Bill Cayley is hard down the inside into Riches to reclaim second position. Not only are we having lead changes in Class 1, we've got them in Class 2 as well. Absolutely wonderful racing from the Petro Canada Lubricants Porsche Club Championship with Pirelli, and Pete Morris has got a car between himself now and Chris Dyer in second place, so Morris building a little bit of a lead over Chris Dyer. Alistair Nelson has got through and passed Kevin Ludford, passed for position. So interclass racing going on between those. Mike Thompson in the yellow and black car is third. And you can see that Alistair Nelson did have to get a move on, because he's got Thompson not that far behind him. Vince Blacker in the mix as well in the 64 car. Park Championship sponsor Vince Blacker in his first season of racing with us. And Ollie Tappin in the 91, about to be passed by Simon Clark. Simon is, due to the pit stop that he had, I think going to be a non-classified finisher. And by my reckoning, it's going to be very, very tight on points between Simon Clark and Matt Kyle-Henny for the overall championship. There's Rich Ellis in the number 3, renewing battle with Richard Bayston. Those two always very closely matched. So I think for the overall championship, things will be very close indeed. So Class 1, Simon Clark got a good lead in the championship, class-wise, over Mark McAleer. Class 2, Matt Kyle-Henny over Paul Simpson. But the thing that we're going to be interested to see is whether Matt Kyle-Henny, now he's closing up on Simon Clark, assuming Matt finishes this race, he'll be a lot closer to Simon Clark in the points table. Clark dropping a lot of points here, because there are 20 bonus points here, and he'll get those for starting and finishing, but he'll be a non-classified finisher because he's away down the order and spent time in the pits, and that's going to be a massive hit for Simon Clark. Kevin Molyneux going through and passing Julian Morris, Class 2 boxer, Kevin's former classmate, Julian Morris. Oh, and a problem there for Jake McAleer. So still not the driest of conditions out there for sure. Ollie Tappin has a little bit of a wide moment. Pete Morris manages to make it through. Chris Dyer is very much now in the traffic. Passes Kevin Ludford. Here we go in car with Chris Dyer, and this is a podium battle going on in Class 2, and Chris has to negotiate those cars. Vince Blacker actually a Class 2 car as well. Ollie has another little moment, all part of the learning experience for Ollie Tappin, as James Cayley, of course, now on the inside of Vince Blacker. James Cayley now third. Is Vince okay? He's dropping back. Looks like Vince Blacker maybe has a problem as the race leaders go on to the last lap. And I think Vince may be coming into pit lane. But with 3 miles to go, it's Pete Morris who has had everything happen to him in this race, including a magnificent fight back. Vince couldn't quite make it into the pit lane, but it's the last lap, so there is no need for a safety car, but there will be heavily waved yellow flags there. And the car's going a little bit slower than normal, because you can see very wet out there now with rain on the camera lens, wipers working full tilt for the drivers. Chris Dyer second. It's going to be a Strasser 1-2, and Pete Morris is he going to present himself with the PMC trophy for this race or not? I don't know. It's been a couple of meetings since Alton Park when Pete had that milestone podium appearance, and he's going to add another podium in the form of a win today. Alistair Nelson in the 21 car, running in second position in Class 3, is the next car for Pete Morris to possibly have to deal with on this lap. I think he probably will. James Cayley is next. This is only James' potential second podium of the year. I was sure James would have more than that, because he's always up at the sharp end of things, working hard. That's the view in the office. That's what the drivers are having to contend with. And Peter Morris, podium Pete Morris, the effervescent Pete Morris, I've got to say, super chap, loves his racing. We've seen some great battles with him, Mark McAleer, many other drivers in this championship over the years, and he's still there, still at the top of his game, bagging pole positions, bagging race wins, not just racing off the front, but coming back and overtaking people, passing and repassing people to grab race wins. It's been a fine drive by Pete Morris here. Still got a few corners to go. As we suggested, has managed to pass Alistair Nelson. So Pete Morris with a flash of the lights as he goes through bomb hole. Chris Dyer second. James Cayley is still there in third. Kevin Molyneux is fourth. So 3 of the top 4 cars are Strasser machines. Kevin Molyneux on for his best ever overall position in his second meeting here in Class 1. Might see a flash of him in shot. Well, no, we won't. We'll go back to the race leader. Quite rightly, Pete Morris goes through shot. The race leader into Murray's for the final time to head towards a second win of the year. And Pete Morris in the PMC car goes along centre straight, looks for the checkered flag, which is being unfurled now. There it is, and Pete Morris takes the win in round 13 of the championship. Chris Dyer second, James Cayley completes the top 3. Richard Forber will win Class 3. There is still battling going on in Class 2. That's a Class 3 and a Class 2 battle, incidentally, that we were looking at there happening. Kevin Molyneux 4th, Jake McAleer 5th, Richard Ellis in 6th place. And this is Matt Kyle Henney chasing Andy Muggeridge. That is for 3rd and 4th position in Class 2. It's Paul Simpson, the class leader at the moment. And then Bill Cayley in 2nd. Bill, of course, grabbed the lead at Coreham a couple of laps ago and is now in 2nd place. It's going to be Paul Simpson, I think, for a 3rd win of the year for him in the 88 car. And Bill Cayley, who looks very capable of taking win in Class, takes 2nd. But congratulations to Paul Simpson, 3rd win of the year in Class 2. Bill Cayley next up. And Matt Kyle Henney on the line takes 3rd position from Andy Muggeridge. Incredible stuff. Here's the result. Pete Morris from Chris Dyer and James Cayley, your overall podium, and indeed for Class 1. Class 2 won by Paul Simpson from Bill Cayley and Matt Kyle Henney. Class 3 won by Richard Forber from Alistair Nelson and Mike Thompson. Fastest lap of the race overall going to Mark McAleer. A little bit of consolation for him finishing down in 24th place. Let's hear from the winners.
Well pleased. I mean, changing conditions. I got a good start coming to the hairpin, and then I got squeezed by Clark at the inside, scuffed my door, then McAleer collected him and I got the cut back and I managed to lead the race. And me and Chris, my teammate, we had a cracking race. But I got my first place. So PMC trophy race this weekend, so I've won myself a trophy again, which I like doing. But it's raining now, cats and dogs, so hopefully I can get another, well, at least another podium.
Yeah, there were a bit of oil down at the end of the Bentley Straight and Pete went off and I managed to get one inside, but then a couple of laps later he just got past me after the hairpin. He's had a better drive out there and I thought, well, I'm not going to hold him up and I'll just keep following him. But towards end, with the weather as it was, with the rain, it were a nightmare. So I was glad to finish second.
I was pleased with that. It was a bit of there was a lot of changing of places, and it got really slippery at the end, as you could obviously see. But yeah, managed with the P3. I think I was going down the last back straight, and it was really getting wet. And I thought discretion's the best part of valour, and just hold back. And I was in front of P4, Kev behind me, and so just tippy-toed all the way around the outside, and managed a podium, which was really pleasing.
Yeah, really good race. Really happy with the result. Obviously. Led from the start. I did get overtaken by Angus, but then he hit the oil on the road on Coreham, so he span out, so I got back in the lead and then managed to hold the lead for the whole of the race, which was really exciting. Bit of rain as well, just to make it interesting for the last 2 or 3 laps, so yeah, really good.
Pretty good season for you overall. Now you're going to end it with an amazing downpour as well, so that's going to be quite challenging for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're out on wets for the second race in the rain, obviously, so just need to keep a level head and just bring the car back safely, I think so.
Bill will meet again in positive circumstances, yet another podium, so you've got to be pleased with that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, it was a difficult race. Sort of at the start, we had some good battles going on, all tidy, which is always nice. And then, yeah, sort of coming towards the end, it was basically who could keep the car on the longest, because it was pretty slippery. I think between me, Paul, Andy and Matt, we all had a bit of, I think we were all in first for a little bit, sort of second and third, and I think from speaking to Matt and Andy, I think Matt managed to get Andy right on the last corner, which I'm sure would have been quite exciting going around Coram in the slippery conditions. But yeah, it was really good fun to sort of have nice, clean, fun battles, and I think the next one hopefully will be clean, but with the weather it might not.
On the final race of the season, not quite got the old championship yet for the class, but you only need to compete in this next one, don't you? I think you just about got it.
Well, so from what I've been told, I need to cross the start and finish line on the when we all take off at the start. So that sounds good to me.
Been a cracking season for you. We've had some downs, but mainly ups, and it's a main achievement for your first season in this, in getting a class championship.
Yeah, I mean to have come and doing what we're doing in the first year, it's I can't really believe it myself, to be honest. So to be able to do it with my dad and as a family team, I can't beat it. And I've always said this will be my best time in motorsport. I think maybe we've got to, we don't like standing still, so we like to definitely try and move up. So with hopefully winning the series, we're gonna move up. We're gonna move up to Class 2. So it should be exciting.
Toby, race 1 done and dusted for everyone, but we didn't see you on the grid, so what's the story?
Sadly, after qualifying on my in-lap, the gearbox decided it wasn't going to shift out of second gear, so we lost, I think it's something selector fork or something like that that's broken in there. So even now we still can't get it out of second gear, so yeah, sadly it's we haven't got a spare gearbox here, so that's it for us for today.
Quick reflection on the season. I mean, overall the season, certainly up to the last round, Brands Hatch it started to go a little bit wrong, but we had some great successes up to that point.
Yeah, we did. I mean, every time we were in contention, and we had a fully functioning car and things were going the way that we wanted. We were winning races and setting fastest laps, and and everything was going very positively. But unfortunately, that's motorsport, and these things happen. Overall, the season's been really good. I mean, it's a bit of a testing year for us to try and get sort of sorted for next year, where we're going to come back and try and do the full campaign as much as we can.
It is very, very wet on track now. Simon Clark takes pole position for race 2 from James Cayley. Peter Morris third, Chris Dyer on the outside of row 2, then Jake and Mark McAleer. Class 2 headed by Paul Simpson from Toby Barlow and Matt Kyle Henny. Bill Cayley fourth from Angus Archer and Andy Muggeridge. Class 3 headed by Richard Forber from Mike Thompson, Peter Evans, Alistair Nelson, Sarah Thompson fifth from Matt Goff and Stephen Shaw. So that's your grid. Lights are on. This is a very crowded racetrack and it's going to be difficult. They've had 2 green flag laps, as you probably saw from the laser display board. And away we go. What a start by James Cayley. It's James Cayley that leads from Chris Dyer in second place. Simon Clark battling for the overall championship. It's going to be in the mix. I'm sure he'd have liked a clean start in car with Rich Ellis. Kevin Molyneux on his inside. Lovely result from Kevin in race number 1. So many stories in race 1, you have to say. The overall championship is still up for grabs, and Simon Clark, the man who heads it in the white and orange Thomson Reuters car, is there in the mix as Richard Baisden tries the outside run down towards Palmer. Jake McAleer being basted there, you might say, so Richard Baisden makes up the position. Matt Carl-Henny leads Class 2 in yellow and black. He was going to take it easy, so it's Matt Carl-Henny ahead of Paul Simpson. And then Bill Cayley third in Class 2, Richard Forber leading Class 3. Matt Carl-Henny now will have his eyes on the overall championship, because by my maths, on overall scores without any drops, he is 2 points behind Simon Clark. So, and Clark is dropping points here. He's a little bit further back in the order as Bill Cayley challenges for the lead. Around the outside is Paul Simpson going for the lead and gets it. Matt Carl-Henny second, Bill Cayley is third. That was the outside at Agostini. absolute masterstroke when they redesigned this circuit. It really brought Snetterton to life. It was a great track anyway, but it's a superb track now. Very long 3 miles, the 300 circuit. Here they come onto the Bentley Straight, and Bill Cayley is in third. This is what the drivers have to deal with, not only racing in close quarter, but dealing with all that spray. So much to have to deal with. I take my hat off to anybody who races in any conditions, but particularly those that race in Porsches in the wet. The rear end loves to break away on these cars, so what you're seeing here is a wonderful display of driving from the whole grid this weekend. No exceptions at all. Even the newcomers, you know, learning their racecraft here, maybe for the opportunity to come back next season and have a go, and several drivers already talking about that. Simon Clark, this is significant for Simon, grabs the inside on Mark McAleer. All good for championship points. Mark is a little bit adrift at the moment in the Class 1 standings, but of course Simon Clark now knows that every car he passes in his own class will strengthen his hold on the overall championship lead. He's got to be mindful of where Matt Kyle-Henny is. I think at the moment, doing the maths, that Matt Kyle-Henny, being up on the podium positions, in second position at the moment in Class 2, is actually doing enough to secure the outright championship. We'll have to come back to you on that one. Stephen Shaw went through shot. Nice to see him in the mix. Carl Hazelton in the 24 car. And Mark McAleer still at the moment ahead of Simon Clark. Mark trying to get as close to Simon as he can in the points. Mark second in the championship for Class 2 with 8 podia so far this year. Simon Clark with 11 podia, same as Matt Kyle-Henny actually coming into this race, but Clark with 8 wins and Matt Kyle-Henny with 2 wins, 7 second places, 2 thirds. But Matt's been very consistent, and it's just unfortunate for Simon Clark that it was the bonus points round where he didn't get a score. We'll have to go and have a look at the points and see what the ramifications are, whether the bonus points drop does actually cause a problem for Simon Clark championship wise. But I think he's going to do enough to secure the Class 1 title again, but whether he can get the overall championship remains to be seen, Simon Clark. But on the records he will show as being overall a Class 1 champion in 2020 and Class 1 champion in 2021, so double Class 1 champion now, emulating the likes of Pete Morris of course and Mark McAleer. Still a very crowded field, but what a start that was by James Cayley. Hasn't had a win this year, but mastered the start in the wet from Chris Dyer, who Chris has had an impressive year as well and shown some terrific racecraft, and it's been the Caymans that have shown the upper hand for much of the year. Chris Dyer of course taking a win at Silverstone, really coming on to form now. Bill Cayley is challenging for the race lead. This is the lead battle in Class 2. Paul Simpson there at the moment, and Bill Cayley. I said, what, James and Bill Cayley, it must be something in the genes about racing in wet conditions, because both of them looking very, very sharp indeed here. And Simpson is under pressure. And look at Bill Cayley. This is what I'm saying about the drivers have to deal with the spray. So it's close quarter racing. They're at top speed. They're on the limit in the car. And visibility is an absolute premium, isn't it? It's so difficult out there. Matt Kyle-Henny's third. Andy Muggeridge in fourth place. The top 4 cars pretty much together in Class 2. And here comes Cayley. Gets his nose up the inside and along centre straight and into the lead. He loves that bit of the racetrack. He showed that in race 1. But as in race 1, we saw Simpson come back. We look in the mirrors. Can't see Simpson coming at the moment. But Bill Cayley has got the class lead. And Bill Cayley has not won a class victory in Class 2 before. He's had many, many podia over the brace of seasons that he's been racing. Kevin Ludford again engaged, this time with Julian Morris for battle. And that's good to see. And this time, Bill Cayley has got the lead and consolidated it. Matt Kyle-Henny third, then Andy Muggeridge, followed by Angus Archer, another of the many drivers that, as you heard, led Class 2 in race number 1. Double winner, of course, at Brands Hatch, Angus Archer. He was very modest in the interviews, I thought, Angus, but super racing from him and very much up at the sharp end. Richard Forber in close quarter as well. So Richard Forber, who is on his way, has actually now provisionally got the Classic Boxsters title by starting this race, because you do get points for starting. He's there. And you have to say, very much punching above his weight here. We've got the Class 3 car right up with the lead battle for Class 2. I wonder if Richard will go the way of Paul Simpson and maybe have a look at Class 2 for next year. It'll be wonderful if he does, and testament to the championship structure that he might be able to do that. This is for second place and Rich Ellis. What a race from Rich Ellis at the moment. In third place, I'm just racking my brains, and Rich Ellis hasn't had a podium, has he? Recently in the 996, the ex-Craig Wilkins car, if I remember correctly. Craig running in GT Cup this year, still talks to me fondly about his time in this championship when we have a little bit of a catch-up. John Alexander, first season driver, has got further and further up the order in every race that he's done in his wonderful green Cayman, and hopefully he'll be back next year. Simon Clark is, as you would expect, having trouble getting past the likes of Mark McAleer and Peter Morris. They're never ever going to be easy drivers to pass, but at the moment not figuring in the lead battle, and Matt Kyle Henny still at the sharp end in Class 2. I think on course for provisionally the overall championship. Remember, Simon Clark should be there in terms of Class 1. Matt Kyle Henny is provisionally Class 2 champion, but who out of Class 1 and 2 is going to have the most points to bag the overall championship? Last time we had an overall champion from Class 2 was just 2 years ago, 2019, Ross Morris, and before that Andy Toon back in 2016, John McCullough in 2013, Alex Eacock the year before that. Richard Lambert was the first man in Class 2 to take the overall title in 2004, Tom Segru the year after, and really impressive to look back through the years at the wonderful champions this competition has produced. Welcome back to round 14, the final race of the 2021 Petro-Canada Lubricants Porsche Club Championship with Pirelli. Double race winner from last time out, Angus Archer, gives chase to Andy Muggeridge and Matt Kyle Henny. Matt Kyle Henny going through in yellow and black. There is Andy Archer. So it's Bill Cayley, the class leader, from Matt Kyle Henny. Then Andy Muggeridge. Angus Archer is in fourth position, and the next car in line will be Richard Forber, who is not right with them at the moment, as you can see, but he is on for, I think, a 13th position. That's probably going to be Richard Forber's best finish of the season. Still having a terrific race. Kevin Ludford and Julian Morris for Class 2 honours, and those guys battling for 7th position. I think that is Vince Blacker in behind as well, getting stuck in. And this is the race leader, James Cayley, made a wonderful getaway in the wet. And we've got the prospect of father and son winning classes. I can't think of any other championships where that has happened, as Chris Dyer negotiates the number 20 car, John Alexander. So a little bit of traffic for the race leaders now. Richard Ellis going through in third place, lights ablaze on Richard's 996. Mark McAleer is fourth, passes Stephen Shaw. Stephen running in fourth position in Class 3 ahead of Sarah Thompson. So Sarah, as you heard from Barry, finding out that she's got a little bit more power in her engine now. That's negated with the wet, but driving very well is Sarah Thompson, again learning her trade here. And now Simon Clark's turn, right in the mix, as John Alexander gets a bit of a tank slapper on. Stephen Shaw will look to the outside. Simon Clark having to weave his way through the other Class 1 and Class 3 cars and the spray as well. And Pete Morris is closing up on him rapidly. And Morris, I think, is going to dive to the inside, or is he? Yes, he is. So it's Morris on the inside. So it's a Class 1 battle getting stuck into traffic. Now, I've already said that the drivers have to go wheel to wheel. They also have to deal with cars in different classes that are less powerful, so they will inevitably catch those cars. Phil Cayley going through. There is Angus Archer just going out of shot in his car, and Simon Clark still ahead of Pete Morris. Now, just to sort of fill you in where we are, Simon Clark is 5th in class, and Matt Kyle Henney is 2nd in his class. So by my reckoning, Matt on for 54 points from this race, Simon Clark on for 48, which is a 6-point differential. And without the drop scores, there's only 2 between them. So Matt Kyle Henney, if things stay like this, will overtake Simon Clark in the overall points and potentially become our overall champion for this year. It's all, of course, subject to confirmation, because the champion is never confirmed until all the scrutineering is done. The engines, of course, have to be checked out, the cars scrutineered. That's usually a few days before we get the official confirmation of that from the Porsche Club, which is the correct way of doing things, of course, as well. But what we can call today, of course, is who's provisionally champion. Rich Ellis busy chasing, and what a weekend of stories we've had. And Rich Ellis looking very good for a podium, and maybe even a 2nd position, because he's closing in on Chris Dyer at the moment. Great view of the cars coming down from the Bentley Straight into the Brundle-Nelson complex, and then through Bombhole. James Cayley has not put a wheel wrong to my mind so far. Neither has Chris Dyer in 2nd, trying to close up. 3 different models in the mix at the front. The 997 leading to Cayman, the 996 is next up, then the 997 of Mark McAleer. He's having better fortunes in this one and has fastest lap again, Mark McAleer. So Mark closing in on Simon Clark in terms of the Class 1 championship lead. Julian Morris is negotiated by Richard Ellis. Richard still trying to close in on Chris Dyer. This is a fair old leap for Richard Ellis, because best result so far this year, plenty of 6th positions, as the race leader James Cayley goes on to the last lap here at Snetterton, the last lap of the 2021 season. Such a shame that it is all over so quickly, but we've enjoyed some tremendous racing once again. We hope you have too at home, and that it might tempt you to come out and watch the racing for real next season. You'll be made most welcome in the paddock. It is the people that make the racing, not just the overtakes, the passes, the action that we get. It's the whole package. So please do come, and don't be a stranger, to use the cliche. So James Cayley leads the race overall. His son Bill is leading in Class 2 and on for his first win in the championship as well, but he's got another lap to go. He's just negotiating quorum at the moment. The car behind him is Alistair Nelson, so Bill's got a little bit of a lead. Meanwhile, James passes Kevin Ludford. Chris Dyer in 2nd. And this is the view from that 2nd place car. Chris Dyer has really come on song in the closing stages of this year. If he carries that momentum into 2022, he was going to be a championship contender once again. Of course, Chris, the champion 11 years ago, he's one of our Class 2 champions. I think we may see a Class 2 champion today, provisionally, as I mentioned, with Matt Kyle Henney. And Chris Dyer taking the outright championship. Marcus Carneal was Class 1 champion in 2010. And Chris Dyer, Class 2 champion. And now racing, of course, in Class 1. And as I say, without a doubt, it's going to be, if he carries this form on next year, going to be a championship contender for sure. But this race has been all about the super start made by James Cayley. And James and his son Bill revelling in the wet conditions and giving us a superb display of driving here. It's Chris Dyer 2nd, Richard Ellis on for a maiden podium. Another great story from the championship here. And let's take a moment to ride in car with Rich Ellis, who's working hard, driving smoothly for sure. There is Vince Blacker, who I think is on for his best class result of the season as well, well inside the top 10 in Class 2. He will be passed by James Cayley, who's going to grab his first win of the year as he goes along centre straight through the spray, and we'll see the checker up towards the line, and it's a win. James Cayley takes the win in round 14 of the championship. 2nd place goes to Chris Dyer. 3rd is going to be Richard Ellis, and we look for the Class 2. We have to go back, pick up on Class 2. It's a family double potentially. Through Bombhole is the Class 2 leader, Bill Cayley. This his first class win, assuming he gets there. Let's not put the curse of the commentator on him. Coming into Coram, where he did that magnificent pass to grab the lead in race number 1. on the outside line, grabbed the inside into Murray's. Murray's was where he got the lead here in race 2 from Paul Simpson, who is still on track and running in 5th position in class. But it was a win for James Cayley outright. Class 2 is going to go the way of his son. A superb drive by Bill Cayley, who comes up towards the checkered flag and wins round 14 for Class 2. Bill Cayley takes it. And you can hear the delight in the car. Congratulations, Bill and James, on their double. Matt Kyle Henny second in Class 2 and has provisionally wrapped up the overall championship. Here's how they finished. James Cayley from Chris Dyer and Rich Ellis, Mark McAleer, Simon Clark, Pete Morris wrapping up the top 6. Class 2 won by Bill Cayley from Matt Kyle Henny and Andy Mugridge and Angus Archer. Richard Forber wins the championship, of course, and wins Class 3 ahead of Mike Thompson and Peter Evans.
Fantastic win there, you've got to be pleased with that one.
Really pleased with that. Yeah, I got a really good start, which I've been suffering with some really bad starts this year, so it was nice to sort of finish on a good one. Got into the first corner ahead of Simon and just sort of carried on from there. It was sort of consistent all the way through the race. It didn't get any wetter, didn't really get any drier, and just had to keep it tidy and managed to bring it home. I was pleased when I saw the sort of, I think there was about 2 minutes to go. I thought one more lap, just keep it tidy, and Chris was closing in on me, but I think there's, I just sort of was reasonably comfortable at the end, but glad to see the checkered flag at the end, definitely.
Now we caught up at Brands, we said we were getting there in the season. That's a great way to end it, surely.
Yeah, it is fantastic. I'm so thrilled with it because all year we've said the idea is try get a podium, just get up there at some point. I know I've left it a little bit late. Last meeting, last race, great start, and getting a podium, racing with Chris as well, because I've raced with him loads of times back in the day kind of thing. So yeah, it's great to be back with him. Really close racing in these conditions, left each other just enough room at times, so it was a bit squeaky moment here and there, but yeah, fantastic race for me really.
You've got to be pleased with that. First place in class ever, I think, for yourself.
Yeah, exactly what a way to end the season. Going to definitely go home with a smile today. First win as well, so I can't really say much more apart from I'm very happy about it.
It's all come together just at the end of the season, teasing us for next season.
Yeah, annoying, but like I say, bring on next season, I guess. So we're good.
We'll see you there.
Yeah, we'll do.
Class winner of the season and provisional overall champion. That's got to sound pretty good.
It does sound very good. Came here with the intention to win the class championship. We were a bit far behind on points to really do it on the road, but unfortunate DNF for the guy in the front. So yeah, I'm still kind of processing it a little bit, but it's unbelievable. Kudos to the team for building such a rock solid car all year. I think that's been the key. So reliability has been questionable for other competitors, but for us it's been solid. So I suspect that's key to why we've won both championships. So yeah, I'm still over the moon really, but very, very happy.
Congratulations, enjoy the celebration.
Thank you very much.
Class 1 champion Simon Clark ahead of Mark McAleer and Peter Morris in third. Fourth was Chris Dyer ahead of Jake McAleer, and then James Cayley and Rich Ellis in seventh with that great drive in race 2. Our overall champion and Class 2 winner, Matt Kyle Henny ahead of Paul Simpson. Angus Archer takes third place, and fourth position is Bill Cayley. The Classic Boxsters won by Richard Forber from Alistair Nelson, Will Heslop and Mike Thompson. Congratulations to them all, and indeed all the drivers and teams who have taken part this year. Peter Morris doing the honours with the PMC trophies to all of our winners here today. From all of us on the programme, thanks so much for watching this season. Hope you've enjoyed it, and we look forward to your company once again in the very near future. Congratulations to Matt Kyle Henny, your 2021 champion.